Hey, what's going on, you creeps? It's Joshua from the Based on True Events podcast, and I want to take a second to talk about Anchor. Now, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. I know I could probably stop right there, but I won't. So there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Basically, nobody listens to you. It don't matter. You can still make that money. That's exactly right. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Back at it again.
Again. What's going on, man?
Shit.
We're just telling a story at the end of the day.
You can enjoy a fully clothed, totally platonic cuddle session. Not sure what we're doing.
Are these lines safe? Yeah, we can literally say anything we want.
Talk mad shit.
Please continue to follow us. You can find us on all social medias.
All social medias.
All social medias.
All podcasts.
Everywhere that you could listen to a podcast, we're pretty much there. What's good?
Oh, you know, man. Just chilling.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, so,
up.
I'm up, and you gave me the real Men in Black.
Hard quotation.
Hard quotations. Well, and I started researching, and I said, you know what? In the back of my mind, you're always there going, well, you've got two in the hole and fucking you. So I switched it up on you, and I'm actually doing the Toynbee Tiles this evening.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we even talked about it, and you asked me, and I was like, I'm not going to fucking tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
But I'm actually officially, finally, this must be season 9.
Yeah, it must be. We jumped ahead, guys.
We jumped way ahead.
Time travel's real, folks.
It sure is.
Rewind to the time travel episode to figure out how we got here.
I'm doing the Toynbee Tiles, and there was a lot. I will first of all say I was wrong. I stand corrected. There was actually a good amount of shit.
Yeah.
And I watched the whole entire documentary.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, like
I don't know why I put it off for so long.
Like, well, it's one of those ones like when you see it on the surface, you're like, this is trash, you know. And then like once you get in, you're like, oh wait, no, man, like this is actually more compelling than I thought. And then you're down a rabbit hole for like,
yeah. Well, so I mean, we'll kind of jump into it, but a lot of it's just, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Conjecture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But there are some.
Well, tell the story, man.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll tell the story.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump in, and I'll read a little bit from Wiki here just to kind of set the stage here. The Toynbee Tiles, also called the Toynbee Plaques, are messages of unknown origin found embedded in asphalt of streets in about 24 major cities in the United States and 4 South American cities. Since the 1980s, several hundred tiles have been discovered. That's crazy that there was that many, first of all. I thought that there was, 10, 20 maybe.
Yeah.
There's hundreds. They are generally about the size of an American license plate, roughly 30, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But everybody knows what the size of a fucking license plate is.
Even if you're not American.
Very true. But sometimes considerably larger. And actually I found, and I don't know when this wiki was posted, also smaller.
Yeah.
They actually had these little like postcard-ish size.
Yeah, we'll talk about those too. Right. But like,
and the reason I feel somewhat okay doing this is because I know that you know a decent amount. So I hope I'm not jumping around too much because I figured you might chime in quite a bit. I don't know how much you know, but
well, I mean,
I felt
I do.
Like you knew more than
it's been a while since I've been like. I haven't like refamiliarized myself with.
Well, cool. Well, maybe
subject.
Things will pop in, and you'll remember something or something I missed. But
like it doesn't like it's got a timeline, but the timeline like to me the fucking timeline doesn't really matter. But
yeah, well, I'm gonna go through that timeline anyway.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying like it's not like I don't feel like you have to be super chronologically.
No. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so These they're all different sizes, but usually they're about the size of a license plate, American license plate. They contained some variation of the following inscription: Toynbee idea in movie 2001, resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. Some of the more elaborate tiles also feature cryptic political statements or exhort readers to create and install similar tiles of their own. The material used for making these tiles was initially unknown, but evidence has emerged that they are primarily made of layers of linoleum and asphalt crack filling compound. Articles about the tiles began appearing in the mid-1990s, though references may have started to appear in the mid-1980s. Mm-hmm. First of all, I was like, so, okay. I think this is what I first read, and I go, all right, I don't know if I'm that intrigued. And when I see 2001, immediately I'm going, oh, A Space Odyssey, you know?
Yeah. Well, first off, have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
It's really long, and as much as I wanted to really like it, I just found myself going, this is cool, and I get why it's so kind of, not historical, but like...
It's important.
It's
an important film.
Right. It was a tough watch for me.
Yeah. Well, Kubrick is like that, though.
And he is, and I agree.
I mean, you either really like Kubrick stuff or you don't, but it's really hard to argue with whether or not he was a genius, because he, like, just from the, like, a cinematic approach, like, he's brilliant when it comes to what he does. Whether you give a shit about his topics is a different conversation.
True. Well, I mean, it's one of those films that, just like, what's the movie that you sent me that was the weirdest fucking movie I'd ever seen, and I was like, I want to love this movie so much. Oh man, it was way out there. Oh,
dude, like give me a list of some shit.
There's like,
I give you weird stuff.
Lizard. Oh god.
Naked Lunch?
No. It's almost like clips of random. There's like this weird scene with like slave girls and oh god. Anyway, I'll
wow. Now I sound horrible, dude.
Well, dude, this one was tough.
Was it Holy Mountain?
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that movie's fucked up.
Dude,
that movie's really fucked up. But that movie's intention was to be fucked up.
Well, and I made it through that movie. It took me about 4 times.
Yeah.
But I'm going, oh my god, like I wanted to love it. You know what I'm saying? In certain parts, I was like, yeah, weird, dope. Whoa. Yeah, like, I feel weird.
You feel dirty.
Oh, I felt filthy, and I was like, oh, that's kind of what I mean. Like, I like that movie actually, probably. But anyway, I tried to really dig it, but you know, I know it's got a huge following, and it's this super important film, as you said. Anyway, jump ahead. Toynbee tiles were first photographed in the late 1980s, and their first known reference in the media came in 1994. A 1983 letter to the Philadelphia Inquirer referenced a Philadelphia-based campaign with themes similar to those mentioned in the tiles. In the United States, tiles have officially been sighted as far west as Kansas City, as far north as Boston, and as far south as Washington, D.C. Since 2002, very few new tiles considered to be the work of the original artist and have appeared outside of the immediate Philadelphia area. Although one notable sighting appeared in suburban Connecticut in 2006, and one appeared in Edison, New Jersey in 2007. Now, presumed copycat tiles have been spotted, and there's a laundry list of cities, and I won't sit there and rattle them off. Many older tiles considered to be the work of the original tiler have been eroded by traffic, but as of 2011, older tiles remain in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, St. Louis, Missouri, Cincinnati, and Cleveland, Ohio, and South America, among other locations. Right. So there's some that are still
alive and well.
Yeah. Now you got to think. Like I was like, okay, so first of all, how are they putting these tiles? Like, because it's in the middle of the road. There's one in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
Dude, they're everywhere, and it's like, how is just car after car traffic? How are these things not just like completely smashed? And at the risk of being boring, I was going to tell you what they found, like how they're actually put down. So first of all, and we're going to get into... Have you seen the documentary? Mm-hmm. All right. That dude, Justin, they were intense, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
they were. But I mean, and they offered up some pretty compelling, like,
well,
answers for what they thought was kind of the origin and reasoning behind it, like who they thought was behind it.
Oh yeah, they interviewed some people. We'll get into that a little bit more because I some of the stuff we're going to talk about I did get directly from the documentary. But so in 2000, Justin Dewar, whatever, the dude who made the documentary.
Dude, we need to take a class just on saying people's names.
Just pronouncing.
Just saying names, man. We fucking suck at that. But okay, go ahead.
We'll call him JD. So anyway, we'll just call him Justin. Found a freshly glued tile at 13th and Arch Street in the center of Philadelphia and finally figured out how it was all done. He discovered that the tile was the center of a layered package. That the tile was in the center of a layered package of tar paper and held together by glue. The bundle was then adhered to the street with a kind of road tar. The tile itself was linoleum, a soft and pliable material. True linoleum has far more give than your average vinyl floor tile and is less prone to shattering under the extreme conditions of a city street. So that answered my question. So because I was trying to picture, like, how are tiles not just
destroyed and turned to dust immediately? Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think that how they're put there is, I've got one theory, but it's more for me.
Oh, okay, so
why they're put there.
So like, as we're at this point, like, so they're extremely intricate, right? The ones that I've seen, they're intricate. Like, they're not.
You mean like just like the details?
Like the details,
yeah.
Like, you know, some they vary in, you know, whatever they say or whatever it is. But, like, it's not like you could sit there and put, like, one piece of linoleum, another piece of linoleum, another piece of linoleum. Like, somebody has to make this fucking thing and then put it down in one piece.
Right.
You know, almost like if you look at a billboard, how they kind of, like, put up
they roll
the strip
or whatever.
and then they roll it down.
Yeah.
And isn't there a part in that documentary where they talk about, like, they think they almost saw somebody fucking put one of these things down? Like, it was like...
It was quick.
It was there, or it wasn't there, and then it was there, and it was like a car or something had stopped, and then all of a sudden it was there.
All of a sudden it was there.
Yeah.
I'm actually about to jump into that because that, for me, is kind of the coolest part of this story. Well, so before we get into why and how and all that sort of stuff and what you think and all that, Arnold Toynbee, there was a book, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't get too much involved with him, but his whole the concept or the idea behind why this person or persons made the tiles is where I go, okay, now I see what Shep was talking about. This is a cool story,
right? Not
really like the whole how,
like like that stuff is kind of inconsequential to the
right. So Arnold Toynbee wrote a book, and his book contained a theory on bringing dead molecules back to life. And there's a couple of quotes here, where Toynbee explained his belief in the ability of science to bring every dead molecule of every dead human being of past history back to life again through scientific means. Here's a quote from Arnold Toynbee. When, after death, the body dissolves into its physical elements, these elements themselves are not annihilated. They are continuing to exist as parts of the physical universe, though no longer in this form. My head's like, whoa.
Yeah, that's general relativity.
Right. Arnold Toynbee's conception of bringing dead humanity back to life on the planet Jupiter, as it was depicted in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I do remember that, and that's the connection right there, from the tiles of the 2001 Space. They actually depict it in that film.
Right. Yeah.
And I go, okay, so now my thing is, okay, is the dude obsessed with the movie, this concept? Well, the entire concept is that they're going to bring humanity back, resurrect it on the planet Jupiter.
Right.
That's this dude's this person or these people, that's their entire reason for doing this and spreading this. So here's where I'm going to run through the timeline real quick. That I kind of disagree. I think it's kind of cool to the story and kind of important. But in 1979, and I won't tell you who they found or who they believe to be doing this. But this person discovers the idea. Basically, they got the book and then the movie.
Yeah.
So that's where they discovered the idea in 1979. In 1980, this person actually called Larry King live, and they found the audio of this dude calling in to the
Right.
radio.
Larry King.
Yeah. And basically pitched his
theory.
His theory, right. Of course, then in 1980, or in between 1980 and 83, he attempted to make contact. I keep saying he, but sorry. They attempted to make contact to all major media outlets. Basically, he's trying to get his word out there, and he's trying to go on mainstream TV and everything else. He's getting shot down because,
Right.
I mean, you sound like a fucking whack job, dude.
Crazy.
Yeah, especially, I'm assuming in 1983, it's a little bit harder to get on TV with some wacky fucking ideas.
Right.
TV's now a little bit different. 1985, this person started experimenting with shortwave radio, and actually was found a way to transmit into people's TV sets, onto their television sets, on his own. So it was like basically hijacking, people's TVs, which is kind of cool. And he had plans to reach the entire world. And he kept talking about Russia, USSR, and stuff. And I didn't get too far into that, but dude's like trying to spread his word. In 1983, or sometime between 1983 and 87, the tiles began constructing them, or they began constructing the tiles. But in 87 is when the tiles really started appearing across the U.S. and South America, and well, that's all the way to the present. Because I guess there's still some of these that are popping up,
Right.
which is fucking crazy to me.
So is there a reason you're neglecting to use the person's name?
Well,
Because it's conjecture, or
it is somewhat.
or are you just
conjecture.
trying not to give this dude like his day in court?
No. I'm gonna. So next, I mean, do you remember his name? Do you remember because they?
No, well, I remember.
There's no
from what-
100%.
what-
Nobody's admitted.
Right. Well,
you
but
know.
from what I remember from the situation is it was like 3 people that were like their best, like, suspects, I guess. And the one dude, he was like, he kind of checked all the boxes. But then
Okay.
there was like another person, and it had something to do with like their mail. Like it was weird. It was like something. It had something to do with like the mail that, like the mailman or something that was going around. Like had something to do like.
I don't know if I read
with
anything
the lady,
about that. I don't remember.
that was one of the suspects or whatever. But basically, it was like in the Philadelphia area is where they thought that this person lived.
Right,
And they started like trailing it back.
Well, in one of the tiles, like found in Chile, there was.
Chile.
Yeah, I always want to say Chile, and I know it's fucking wrong. But they there was an address.
Yeah, yeah.
In a Philadelphia resident.
Philadelphia residential address.
And now the current, obviously, people they've checked that out, and they're like, we got no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Right, but I mean, I don't give a fuck about that. But like,
Right.
but the other thing is like, wasn't it like, not only was it Philadelphia, it had to do with the mail, like the Philadelphia mailing address, but it also there was like it was something about the tiles. Like they found that there was something in the tiles that kind of was like a fingerprint for Philadelphia.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if it was like the like where, like they found a serial number or something on one of the.
I'll be honest with you, I missed that. I completely I must have.
I mean, I could be wrong, but
as usual, sucked at researching.
No, I mean, I think that was one of the things that was more compelling to me is like, I mean, you can get things from all over the world by accident, you know what I'm saying? Especially now, but like in the 80s, like, I mean, yeah, you can see that certain things might get transferred from one store to another.
Yeah.
But when it came to certain things, they're kind of like locally sourced. And there was like some, like,
So
I don't know if it was like the tar that was used. It was like the chemical breakdown of the material that they looked up.
So I went to this this website that is literally toynbeeidea.com.
Right.
I mean, that's all this website is. It is the who, what, when, why, where type of thing. It's I believe the guys who did the documentary as well. And I did snap a photo of this, and I'll just read it. It says, "Here's what I can say. TTT," which is the Toynbee Tyler They shortened it. Okay. Is an anonymous Philadelphia-born artist. So they start off by just claiming immediately that they found who this person is, and I'm going to give you the name and everything in just a second.
Well, you don't have. I mean,
well, no, I want to.
Oh,
It's
okay.
part of it because that's part of the cool story. I just didn't want to.
Yeah,
I didn't want to give it away yet, man.
Shit the bed.
Yeah, right. So it says here, one uncle was a politically connected funeral director. Another relative was the inventor of instant replay. I don't know what the fuck that. Like, okay. Other close family include an artist, mechanic, even the owner of a tile store. So I'm wondering if that's what you're kind of somehow like.
Know.
But
Maybe.
it says that he was born in the 1950s and grew up somewhere in this creative mix. We know through documents and acquaintances that he was a fan of science fiction. He also had skills in car modification, including converting a Fiat 128 sedan, blah, 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 and installing vinyl lettering and artwork on commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
So
that was part of it. Like they thought that there was like a secret hatch in the car.
Yeah.
That they could open the floorboard and stick one of these tiles down as they were driving.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll jump right into it. So Justin and his crew kind of pinpoint. Well, they went to it was like a convention for fucking shortwave radio conventions.
Yeah.
So a bunch of just old dudes talking about shortwave radios.
Hammer, yeah.
Well, he went on this little radio show that was being done in a hotel room. This was all in the documentary, and the guy was like, "No, but you got to go talk to this other dude." And so, anyway, by meeting one person, meeting another person, they came up with the name, and the name was Sevi Verna.
Yeah.
And one, that's a cool ass name. I know Sevi's short for something else, but
Slevin.
no, it wasn't. It was like a long name, but Sevi Verna. But so the writings, when this person was in the 80s trying to reach out to the mainstream media and try to pitch their whole thing, went by the name James Morosco. So it turns out that the people, when they were describing James Morosco, and when the neighbor, because they found the address to Sevi Verna, the neighbors who knew Sevi described him. They're like, oh shit, it's the same person. So what these guys believe and what they found out, because they went and knocked on his door, like they were like,
right.
Sevi,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
dude was, and the neighbors were all saying like, look, dude boards up his home, dude's super sketch, won't come to the door, like doesn't talk to anybody, like a recluse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he does get out, but he just minds his own shit. And so
he's the Maynard of the art world.
basically,
like, he's just like, no, you don't want to know me.
You don't want to know, man. I'm out there. But they had the same P.O. box, so they started ruling out, okay, so this is the same person. He was using an alias, James
Right.
Orozco, because he was getting completely like ridiculed and bashed for this shit. So Sevi, one of the neighbors, goes, yeah, he drives this old piece of shit car. In fact, it doesn't even have a floorboard in it. And then they start going, well, hold up. And that's when you're talking about they saw the car, then all of a sudden a tile appeared. They're like, dude was literally driving around installing these from within his car.
Yeah.
I was like, that's dope.
Yeah.
Like, he converted his car to this, like, super, secretive fucking...
The spy hunter car.
Yeah, man. I was like, okay, dope. So, I mean, the thing is they wrote this dude letters. They tried to... He was not even showing up. In fact, the one guy, Justin, in the documentary said that he thinks he saw him one day on the bus, and I'm like, how the fuck you know it's him? But
Yeah.
he's like, well, we both like exchanged looks, and it was this awkward moment. He goes, but I didn't have the
You're
balls.
just staring at some dude on the bus.
I know, he's
bro.
staring at you back, bro. But like he said, he thought it was him, and he's like, but I didn't want to say it. It wasn't the right moment and respect. And I'm like, all right, dude. What? I'm pissed at this point. Like, if you had your chance, like fucking. So that basically that's the theory, is that to me, it's probably him. The car.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
So Sevi Verna is in theory the dude that was,
So there's I'm gonna come clean a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had you do this subject for a very, very specific reason.
God damn it.
Okay. And you did great. You did a great job collecting a lot of data and research.
Dude. That's pretty much all I could find. Like literally.
And that's good. Like
okay,
that you did. I'm not being an asshole.
Being cynical.
You did a great job. No, there's a reason that I wanted this subject.
Thanks, Dad.
On, is because it opens up to a different subject.
Oh, fantastic.
And you kind of shit on it at the beginning, which is great because I like this idea. So there's an argument about Stanley Kubrick.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
And the argument about Stanley Kubrick is he had his hands in a lot of other things.
Right.
And there's secrets about these things that he was doing in his movies.
Okay.
Like, so there's a documentary out that's about The Shining, right?
Yeah.
And all the theories about like what he's really telling, what story he's really telling with The Shining. Like on the surface, Shining is the Stephen King story, but it's
Right.
not.
No,
Like,
right.
it's not really the book. It's loosely based on the story, but there's a lot of things that
Which, by the way, that movie is phenomenal.
Right.
That's one of my favorite horror films ever made.
So, but if you really like, if you go back and study the movie, like if you study Stanley Kubrick and you realize that he doesn't show you anything on the screen by accident, like literally down to the things in the background of his stories and his movies, everything was placed there by him.
Right.
So really, like he's telling
heard a
you
little about
multiple
that.
stories. Okay.
Right.
One of the arguments is that he all right, like this is going to get us into conspiracy theory territory.
Well, that's all right, though.
But
this whole thing kind of is.
Yeah.
You know.
So one of the discussions was that he was one of the main people brought in to fake the moon landing.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't that we didn't land on the moon. It's just our technology wasn't at a place where we could like really show it and have it be this nationally amazing thing. So he was brought in as the person to recreate what it was and make it like really stand behind things.
Yeah.
So the idea of why
that pisses so many people
it
off.
It does. It like people lose their shit, and I love it. But whatever. So the idea of why I think this story is amazing is because of the link to 2001. And if you look at it, it's about the book, right?
Right.
And if you look about the book, the Toynbee book, right?
Right.
And then connect that with 2001: A Space Odyssey and what he was talking about in that movie,
right?
It kind of lends credence to the idea that he had some information that other people didn't really have. And whether you think he's crazy or not, or whether he actually wasn't doing this or doing that,
right?
He's definitely a lightning rod for these people out there who are like, he's been this conspiracy theory guy. He's like the center of like this national conspiracy to, you know, like he faked the moon landing and he knows like the Illuminati shit about us being like reborn on Jupiter. And that like
he's some sort of golden god, dude.
Yeah. And if you look at 2001: A Space Odyssey, like the quote I think that he has about 2001: A Space Odyssey is, it's about 7 scenes, like making 7 like perfect scenes.
Right.
And the very first scene is like apes discovering fire and like how that was supposed to like evolve into consciousness. And at the end, it is like the idea of like this fetus in space, like that kind of thing, where it's like we're just now like our consciousness in space is kind of being realized. It's like he was kind of leading us by the nose throughout all of those those sci-fi films, about like what we're just kind of waking up to.
Interesting.
And so that's why I picked this story, and that's so it could get me into this fucking conversation.
Right. Okay. You selfish prick.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, I mean,
no, dude, that's fascinating. So, like, okay, so I've heard the theories of Stanley Kubrick and the moon, the faking
moon landing.
Right.
There's a lot of theories about that about The Shining. Like, there's the one about it's all about Western expansion throughout the Native Americans, like wiping out Native Americans and shit like that.
Dear God. So do you think, and I don't know if you can even put it into I don't know if you can answer this. Do you think he is
Stanley Kubrick or the Toynbee guy?
Stanley Kubrick. Do you think he is actually trying to get across all these hidden messages and that sort of thing, or do you just think he's a brilliant filmmaker? And people are just digging way too fucking, too deep. In other words, I mean,
okay. So the discussion about The Shining, we'll start there, I guess. Okay. The discussion about The Shining is that story, that the Stanley Kubrick version of that movie is about. He's kind of already had these like cracks in his personality, Jack Nicholson's character.
Right.
And that's what makes him susceptible to the haunted hotel being able to control him, and then he ends up lashing out his family and almost killing his family.
Right.
Now, in the book, there's a moment of like redemption for that character. And he kind of saves his son. And he dies inside the hotel.
Right,
the hotel blows up.
Yeah.
But he has enough restraint that he can kind of hold the hotel back long enough to save his son.
Right.
And he dies. But if you remember in the movie, it's this mad dash for power and trying to kill his kid in that maze, and he ends up freezing to death. And so it's that struggle for domination.
It is different, though. You're right.
Yeah, it's that struggle for domination that ends up making him die out in the
cold.
The cold. Right. But the idea there is like all these like hidden things in the background is kind of like the underlying theme of that movie. Like the kid can kind of communicate with the dead, but on the surface he just looks like a normal kid. And the wife, you know, she's this battered wife, and you know, she's just trying to, you know,
survive
and trying to hold the family together and the dad's like an alcoholic that like he's doing this to be a writer, but you know, it's really like he's kind of it is a way to be like away from, you know, the world. But the idea is that there's like these sinister themes that are inside all the characters in one way or another, and they're just hidden. Right. And so there's not like that justice that was in the book. Right. It is like the sinister character ends up dying because of his devious plan, right? And the kid outsmarts him by walking backwards in his steps, which is actually like, I mean, he's saying like retrace your steps.
Yeah.
You know? And like, so there's a lot of that stuff like where it's like hidden and it's completely off of what the book is.
Right.
Which is interesting because you're like, I mean, you could have done it either way. Like he could have saved the kid and still died and done the actual theme of the book, and there would have been a lot of Stephen King fans that would have just been like, okay, no, it's fine, like you didn't want to blow up a hotel. So but the reason I point all that out is because there's literally like no space involved in The Shining.
What do you mean no space?
Like it's not sci-fi at all.
Oh no,
it's borderline horror suspense film.
Well, for me, it's horror because there's a lot of psychological turmoil that, and I go on that ride with them, which is why I think he's brilliant for that movie because you get sucked in.
But there are people that are like, well, why that they use The Shining as like their evidence that this is him talking about faking the fucking moon landing.
I know, okay,
right. But
so, do you think are they insane, or is he just wise? You know. Do you have an opinion on that?
My point of it is like he can't be all things to all people. Okay, like I don't agree with that, which is what some of these people are saying.
Right.
But I do feel like he doesn't do anything by accident, right?
Correct.
And there are some very strong themes in that movie about hiding the true nature of the things that were going on. So I used that to preface this 2001 discussion. And when you were discussing all the people around this guy who's placing the tiles, like, you know, like one was a politically connected.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Like a relative was.
But this guy, like, he figured out how to like tap into.
He had an antenna on the roof of his car, and that's how he would drive around and fucking get into people's televisions to like, I was like, oh shit.
So I think my discussion about this, the reason I wanted to do this discussion is like you don't like 2001. It's because it's tedious. Is that would that be accurate?
Well, I won't say that I dislike it, but I wanted to like it more. Like I wanted to get out of that movie what I got out of The Shining.
Right.
And I didn't. And I was like, well, and honestly, I felt like, okay, am I like beneath this fucking film? Like,
Right.
what am I missing? And I
Right.
think it was because I was trying too hard and I didn't just enjoy the experience, possibly. Because I knew it, and I saw it way after, the big hoopla and
Well, yeah, you probably saw it like 2 years ago.
no, it was like 10 years ago, but.
But no, so like I will say that I think Kubrick's a genius, and I think he gets
Yeah.
attributed to a lot of things that maybe he didn't really have a hand in. But I feel like he's like the catcher in the rye, lightning rod for a lot of these people. Like, so
yeah, I mean, obviously,
like, I mean, this has been going on since the middle '80s, late '80s.
Yeah.
That this dude's been putting those tiles down, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to make a point. Like, he's literally trying to connect the author with Stanley Kubrick.
Completely not related.
Right.
Except for the fact that in his movie,
So
now maybe he read the book. I don't know.
So the discussion is really like, what is, like, why is it that Kubrick gets to be this person where it's like everyone thinks that he's like faking the moon landing and knows
right.
like,
So
knows these things.
What if and I don't really know what my opinion is if he's actually doing this stuff or if he's just like an awesome filmmaker and he really makes people think and he's probably, but it doesn't matter because really for me I'm going, dude, fucking imagine from his perspective. He's like, what if he's not planning all that shit? He's like, damn,
Yeah,
like fucking A, like my movies really have
dude,
have an impact.
I need to back off the trigger a little bit. Like, I'm freaking people the fuck out. Like,
really, yeah. But I mean, really, as a filmmaker, as an artist in general, I think what's cool is everybody gets a different feeling or has a different reaction to any kind of art.
right, for sure. Yeah.
And this is like crazy extreme.
yes.
I mean, fucking like extreme.
Yes, no, I would.
Has he ever commented on the
well,
moon
he's
landing?
dead, man.
Well, I mean, did he ever? I know, but did he ever comment on like the moon?
No,
I-
not that I know of. Like,
I would be
like,
curious to see what his response
But
is.
I mean,
to people.
he like, okay, so Space Odyssey is obviously about like the threat of like AI
Yeah, right.
expanding into space,
Yeah.
into new territories,
Right.
like our inability and our real fragileness in that kind of explorer style into this new
Yeah,
domain. Space 2001 is also about like evolution of man,
right.
making peace with like your dying self and your younger self, like shaking hands with that idea. And those kind of, there's some huge themes in that story, but like there's huge themes in all of his movies,
Well,
and I
right.
think that's kind of why he's a lightning rod when it comes to that stuff. But okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
Let's believe for a second that The Shining is about faking the moon landing, right?
Right. I don't. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but
Let's say it is.
I mean, I think one of the arguments was that like there's 3 people in The Shining, and they're pulled away from everyone in society, and that is like our astronauts on the moon,
Right.
and like each character is supposed to represent a different archetype, what, all that stuff. So let's believe that this movie is really about them
And that was his hidden
faking
message, right?
the moon landing.
Yeah.
So if you take this really like boiled down examination of these people in a hotel cut off from technology,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Cut off
Talking
from
about
everyone.
basically the pinnacle of human accomplishment, right?
Uh-huh.
So there's a complete opposite conversation,
Right.
So you fast forward to 2001, and you look at that backwards, and so the idea of that being backwards is being like, really life and death, like the core of human society, and everything really is boiled down to we're monkeys figuring out fire.
Trying it. Right.
And
I get that.
using that duality, and then you've got like all these people like pointing the fucking finger at Kubrick about all this, and personally I feel like it's bullshit, but
Okay, so thank you. I was like, dude, I hate to say this, and I'm not like I'm not completely lost because I'm following you, but I didn't know how deep I think that fucking this went.
Yeah.
And what people are, for me, what
they've done fucking documentaries on it.
Yeah,
dude.
is that what that room 20?
Yeah, 223 or whatever it is.
203, I think, whatever it is. I started to watch that and I don't remember.
Dude, do yourself a favor. Like, it is worth the journey on that one.
And I don't remember why I didn't.
Like a whole
I really
conspiracy theory side of Stanley Kubrick, and it's it's a buckshot. Like, it's all over the place. And so the real conversation about the Toynbee Tiles is, why is this motherfucker a lightning rod for every single conspiracy theory since he started making movies?
Right. And I'm going, man, so I completely, you said it for me. I call bullshit on the fact that The Shining is anything other than
a psychological horror film that is touching on different, ideas and things. That's fine, but is it a analogy for the moon landing, faking the moon landing, or whatever you said about the Western expansion? Like, these,
I'm like, dude, there's no fucking way in my head, or maybe I'm just not smart enough to fucking see it.
I will say this: watch the fucking documentary.
Yeah, I did. I started to, and I really liked it. I can't remember why I never fucking finished it, and I forgot all about it.
And that's kind of like where, because I think I watched that, and then I watched this documentary, and I watched them. It was like one of those, like, I think it was like Netflix was like, you may also like. I was like kind of in a documentary mood, Netflix, so like I watched it, and I was like, well, wait a minute, like I'd always heard the bit about, Stanley Kubrick, and how influential his films are. Right. And I personally really like a lot of his stuff. There's some stuff that there's the French film that he shot all with candlelight that, like, I got no time for. Like, it's tedious. it's tedious as fuck.
I wonder what that one's called. I don't know. I don't know if I know
we can look it up.
That's all right.
But the idea, like, the reason that I like this story, the Toynbee Tile story, is because it's very eccentric. It's very eclectic story, and this dude, like, I mean, he's pretty brilliant. Like, that's doing the guy that's laying the tiles. Yeah.
Well,
which makes it compelling as to, like, why, like if you're an artist, especially of this 20, 30 years of you doing this, and you want zero credit for it.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't want any. It's like he's doing it for himself at this point. But now there's people. There's more people doing it now. There's copycats, but there's also people laying them down and not trying to make it look like it's him doing it. Like, they've changed the whole. Yeah. Like, they would, dude. I did not get into it, but they went into detail about, like, the layers and the borders and how you can tell if it's the real original. And I'm like, wow. So, but there's people who are making it more artsy now, but it's like an homage to, I'm like, Jesus Christ. So my thing is like, okay, so first of all, are these people really thinking that, this is, we need to, recreate life on Jupiter? Or is this the where they're going with it? And then now you're bringing in the Stanley Kubrick. I'm going, holy shit, I'm being pulled in all these directions. Now I'm almost like, everything that I just read, I was like, this. I thought it was as simple as, it's this one dude who had, like, this kind of far out, like, theory or this epiphany from this book and this movie, and he's like, I've got to get my word. Just some crazy fucking dude.
But if you're that guy, then you jump at the fact that somebody's trying to talk to you,
right? And he's not.
He's a recluse. Like, he wants to be as far removed from that as possible.
Yeah, you're right. It's weird.
So, like, I mean, I think that the Toynbee Tiles is very interesting as a story in its own. But, like, let's be honest. Like,
I agree, but this is more interesting to me now.
If immortality exists in the fact that we get resurrected on Jupiter, like, that's not really something that we need to inform people of. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like, who gives a fuck? Like,
okay.
It's beyond. Like, are you trying to stop this? Are you trying to, like,
what are we trying to do?
What's your end game? Like,
right.
It's like, I think a lot of these stories, like, like, I think the human mind needs motive, to understand. Like, right. I need to know your end game. And your end game is, you don't want to be on TV. You don't want to talk to anybody about this idea. It's extremely, like, cryptic and coded message. So what the fuck at the end of the day are you really trying to do?
Right.
And I think that there are some people who are insistent on being cryptic, which is that's your own thing.
Right, cool.
That's
Okay.
fine. But I did find that this story was an interesting parallel to not only Stanley Kubrick and the work that he's done in film, but also like all these other like subgroups that are like using Stanley Kubrick as like weird, like almost cult status. Like
100%. Now, so his movies are phenomenal. Like, I love what are the big ones?
2001. There's Doctor
Clockwork
Strangelove,
Orange,
Clockwork Orange,
Full Metal. No,
Full Metal.
Full Metal Jacket. Didn't he do?
Yeah, I think
I think
Full
he
Metal
did,
Jacket. Yeah, Full
which
Metal
is-
Jacket
those
was
are
his.
right there. You can stop right there. Now, is there?
The
I'm all over the
Shining.
place. Are there? Well, The Shining. But are there other theories about like those other ones, like Clockwork
I'm
Orange?
sure
and-
there are.
Now
I
I'm
haven't
like-
really dug into.
Now
Stanley
I'm like,
Kubrick.
honestly, now I'm just like, I don't really care about the tiles anymore. I want to know more about this fucking Stanley Kubrick like huge conspiracy theory. I knew a
Right.
little bit, but I didn't know it was.
Well, like I know AI was his movie, and then he died, and
Oh, he did
Steven,
AI
Well,
with
Steven
the-
Spielberg took it over,
Oh,
and made that.
AI
like,
with
finished
the
it.
with the
Yes,
the
that,
kid
that
from
horrible movie. Yes,
fucking.
I see dead
I
people.
see dead people.
Yeah, I know that he was gonna
horrible
do.
movie.
He was gonna do. It wasn't Schindler's List. Like he had planned on doing a Schindler's List style movie, like about the Holocaust.
Jeez.
And there was so much, like it was like so much shit had kind of come out all at the same time that he was like, because he was very slow and methodical. Like he did like 100, 200 takes for everything.
Jeez.
So he couldn't, like, he was like, dude, I don't have it in me.
Wow.
Like,
All right, you know what? I already see where my brain is going with this, and I completely see a part two, and it just basically on Stanley Kubrick.
The part
and the
two is
theory
going to be Stanley Kubrick.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I already that is so.
The
like, I'm
Toynbee
so
Tiles
interested
just
about
got
this.
you into
Yeah.
the idea that.
Well, and I
this
didn't
is
know that
where
was
part-
a segue
Yeah.
for you to
Yeah.
get on your own fucking kick about this crazy shit.
No,
that
it's
I wish I knew more about it because I can't go back and forth with you on this too much yet.
Well, yeah, but I mean the point
you
of
wait.
the point of any good investigation is the question mark, man.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
question mark has to be there for you to give a shit about the research.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you didn't give a shit about this story. This was season 9 story for you.
I agree.
And
I was like, all
and
right,
then we
I've got
get
to
in-
do it.
Then we get in and like
No wonder you kept pushing for me because you really wanted to talk about this, which is
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
You know what's weird? Now that you say that, hold on, let me go and just see something because you jumped right into it because you kind of finally told me why you wanted me to do this. But on here, I'm curious as to what, because they have a why, the whole purpose of this. It said. Oh shit! I'm gonna lose it now. But like when I watched this documentary and I was doing the research on it, they didn't even mention, other than the movie, Stanley Kubrick. They were saying that the entire reason these tiles were there is for this one guy, Sven,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck. I already forgot his name.
Yeah.
They made it really simple and almost.
Well, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm saying that my interest in the Stanley Kubrick side of it is he's directly calling out Stanley Kubrick's movie.
Right.
Right?
He's referencing it. Right.
He's
Yeah,
referencing
yeah.
that. And it was like I saw both of these documentaries very close together. And so it was like, I do believe that there's a lot of like very meticulous nature when it comes to Stanley Kubrick.
Well, yeah. I can. Agree
And
with
it's
that.
to the point where he would go and arrange things in
Yeah.
the background because he wanted it to be a certain way and things like, I mean, could be
That's just-
OCD.
That's really good filmmaking. I mean,
It could be OCD, or
Well, yeah.
continuity or any of those things. But
Everything has
these people were like, okay, look, he's doing this for a reason. Like he's trying to show you something with the pictures that he's.
Well, in The
he's
Shining,
painting.
there was always a red. They talked about it in that
Yeah.
documentary because I started watching it. There was always a red doorknob or something was
Yeah.
always red that represented. Like he was
Right.
methodical. I mean,
Right.
I
Well,
agree.
the red doorknob, I think you're thinking of Sixth Sense, like when they were talking about like
Jesus, was I?
yeah, you took a different turn, but
Well, it's because I talked about that dead kid. Kid earlier.
but anyway, like the point that I'm trying to make is I'm not saying that they're wrong. these guys have done a great deal more research than I have. You
Well,
know?
here, let me read this real quick. This is what I was looking for, so I don't sound like a complete fool. It says at this point, hold on. The tiles can be taken literally. At least in the early days, TTT's sole motivation appeared to be the establishment of a human colony on Jupiter. So, and it says the ultimate goal of this colony would be to build heaven in space. And that's what I kept getting on this kick of. And I was like, okay, so the guy's kind of out there, you know what I mean? That's all it is. It's just kind of, but now it seems like there could be more people are doing those tiles for different reasons.
Yeah.
Which makes me more excited about the topic in general.
Right.
Because at first, and that's why I was like, man, I'm not real stoked about doing this because I think it's pretty black and white. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you had an ulterior motive because this is way more interesting now.
Well,
that was the point of me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, and I don't really know. Like, we could definitely be, like, barking up a tree on this one. And they didn't present this as, like, any kind of conspiracy theory related to Stanley Kubrick.
No.
And we've both discussed how we don't want to do conspiracy theories.
Well,
but
right.
I will discuss the outlying subject matter of a conspiracy theory in the idea that, like, I'll discuss Stanley Kubrick as a lightning rod for conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and whether it's a conspiracy theory,
quote unquote,
whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I like his work so much that I'll fucking talk about anything related to him. And I'm so curious as to how fucking far people take this because I guess I just didn't know.
Well,
by the way, I'm not bashing the dude whose heart and soul made this documentary. It was an awesome film, and he didn't talk about it. I'm not bashing. This was like his life's work, so I'm not trying to dog on dude, but you know,
no, I mean, I wouldn't know,
and he may be right.
I legitimately would not have known about this subject to tell you to research it if it wasn't for that guy's documentary.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
you know, but I feel like it is at least worth the idea of like digging a little deeper into some of these like fringe areas of this populace that really maybe goes a little too far with Stanley Kubrick's work.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. I feel like that.
I'm intrigued. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And we will do a part 2 because I'd like to talk more into it. I'd like to do some research on it for my own, basically, so I can keep up with your ass when you're talking about it more than anything. But because I actually think that shit's fascinating. I like it when people take shit too far.
Right.
Especially if they're wrong. I think it's so funny. Not funny, but I think it's so crazy to me how people's minds can get carried away like so fucking far off of the radar when it's like, man, look, that's not what it is. It's just this. It's just a good fucking movie. Yeah. Or maybe I'm wrong and it's not or maybe we're both wrong and it's not bullshit.
Right.
And dude was fucking.
And you know what? Like,
and I don't know if we'll ever find the answer, but
like my cynicism is really, at the end of the day, like I do love using my cynicism to just destroy like your starry-eyed optimism.
Yeah, you do.
But at the end of the day, like I do, like I am researching some of these subjects or having you research some of these subjects because I kind of wanted that cynic inside of me to be like knocked down a peg, you know? Like I want it to be like, oh dude, you're wrong. Like, no man, there's some fucking shit here.
There's some shit here.
Like Stanley Kubrick definitely faked the moon landing.
Yeah.
Or like Stanley Kubrick didn't fake the moon landing, but like Stanley Kubrick fucking
knew about it and had something about it.
Or you know, or like the Bell Witch is completely real. Like you know, like I want like that cynic inside of me to be like, oh no, it's not always black and white.
Well, I've got a few in my pocket. And by the way, I hope, because I will research the Stanley Kubrick bit, and we will have part 2. I hope that I by the end of it, am on that side of, no, dude, it's not bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking, you know.
Yeah.
But I have got a few in my pocket that I will try to convince you that this paranormal, whatever, I'm not going to give anything away.
Well, like I said,
and so I hope I get a chance to tell you you're wrong.
It's not that I don't believe in the paranormal.
Yeah,
stuff.
I know. I'm not saying that.
But you know, there's like
no, but I don't think yet I've had the story where I've been able to go, see, you're wrong, motherfucker.
Yeah, no.
And I've got a few that I'm gonna. That's what I'm hoping the outcome
is valid. It's valid.
I'm hoping, but we'll see. And I don't know. You got anything else you want to put in about this bad boy?
No, I mean, I really.
Because at this point, I've forgotten all about the Toynbee Tiles.
Really
and
this was more of a fanboy episode for me.
Yeah, I gather that now.
And really, this is one of those episodes where like I had you do it because I can't be the only one that sits around with this like weird shit in my head. Like, because that's like the investigative side of my mind where it's like, oh, here's a question. Well, here's a question. Well, here's a question. Well, here's a question. Like that cynical part of my brain.
Yeah.
That's like, it has to work out. Like, why did this happen? Who said this? Why did you know this? Like those kind of questions, like it goes that sword cuts the other way too.
Right.
So like, if there's just a whole bunch of shit, like my brain's like, well, wait.
Whoa.
Like we got now, like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So like when I say like we won't do conspiracy theories, it's not that we like. I feel like if you make absolute statements, you're absolutely going to get fucked. So I can't say that we'll never do conspiracy theories.
No,
I just kind of want to stay away from that shtick.
Well, this was on my part at least unintentional.
Yeah.
So
no, I did kind of walk you into this one.
Yeah.
I did.
But
here's
what, and this is a weird episode because you. Literally halfway through it, I'm like, hold on, what the fuck are we talking about? And you were like loading me up with all this shit, and I'm like, whoa, my head was spinning. So, but I love that we did it, and I love that you made me do that one, and I'm glad I did it now because I think it is an awesome segue for me to get into something super dope.
Okay, so
and that is Stanley Kubrick.
So that makes you at 2 episodes. Is that correct?
What do you mean?
So Stanley Kubrick, do you want to do that as an episode for just you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So then you got Stanley Kubrick.
Or let's throw an audible.
No, man.
No. I'm going to do a total audible. Let's both bring that to the table because you've kind of hijacked this anyway, and it's been a kind of a both. Half of it was my shit, and half of it was your shit.
Yeah.
So I will do the research on Stanley Kubrick. You have already obviously a good amount of knowledge on it, so you'll chime in. But I'm going to bring my theories to the table, which
because I have an amazing other subject after Men in Black or Stanley Kubrick.
Okay. Well, so what's funny is, you know what's going to happen? The real Men in Black is going to become my new Toynbee Tiles because I'm going to keep putting it off. Let's put it this way. I didn't want to do Real Men in Black so bad that I did fucking Toynbee Tiles.
Yeah, I know, man. I know.
Well, I Googled Real Men in Black and I was like, okay, that's an interesting article. And then
you said the exact same thing about the Toynbee Tiles.
I know, but look, I didn't.
Where you never know where I'm going to go with the Men in Black either.
That's very true.
Like,
I don't think there's any conspiracy
I could be backloading another topic.
Well, the only cool thing about Men in Black is it is 100%.
Are we doing this episode now?
No, but it's definitely going to 100% somehow involve alien. Something.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, some sort
theory.
Yeah. So
just because Will Smith makes a movie about it doesn't mean that that's factual. It's like saying Nicolas Cage is a good archaeologist.
Fair enough.
Like in real life.
In real life.
Yeah.
He's not even a good.
I say do one after Stanley Kubrick. We have to do a Nicolas Cage episode.
Oh fuck!
Just explain Nicolas Cage.
I'd love
explain Nicolas Cage.
Raising Arizona is like one of my all-time favorite films.
Okay.
So
all right, well.
And I know I will go.
So you got Stanley Kubrick Part 2. Or you've got
we do, and I'll be honest with you, I might take a. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that next week. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
We'll see. So we'll see what I get into.
You're at Men in Black, or you can pull another one from the basket.
Well,
I feel like if I give you a third topic, then we get muddled.
Well, so actually, I received a suggestion today.
You did.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to even. I'm going to surprise you. I'm not even going to tell you what I'm going to do next week.
Okay.
It depends how much shit I find on Stanley Kubrick. To be honest with you, it defines how fucking deep I go.
Well, start with that documentary because that documentary is kind of like the thesis of where this started in my head, at least.
Awesome.
And that's how I started spiraling down Space Odyssey again. That's how I started kind of spiraling down this rabbit hole. Was that documentary? The room, whatever. I
want to say it's 203.
Yeah, it could be, but
yeah.
All right, that's where I started.
Well, good shit, man. We were fucking working on a sign off too. We just end up every single time just going, all right, good shit.
Yeah, it was a good story, man. Fuck up. Fuck off. We're closed.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll have a good sign off.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, our episodes kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I really think it is, you try to make me puke or destroy my internet browser history. And I just try to crush everything you love and believe in.
All my hopes and dreams.
All your hopes and dreams I just piss on.
Yeah.
It's a fucking human dumpster fire here at the
Based on
True Events podcast. Dude.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, dude, we're just telling stories and it's tons of fun.
Yeah.
All right, good shit.
All right, bro.